Mrs. Clemenzi to lead us in our invocation and pledge.
Please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, please be with us this morning. Mornings like this, let us realize that not every child in our district has the same opportunities at home. Please guide us to make the right decisions and do everything in your image during this beautiful Lenten season. Guide us and protect us all. In the Lord's name, amen. Please address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mrs. Clemenzi. We will now accept the motion to adopt our agenda.
So moved.
Second.
There's no further debate. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Welcome everybody this morning. It's going to be an exciting morning. You ready for your speech?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have the pleasure of introducing a wonderful Chiefland Elementary team, Dr. Weber, Mrs. Rollins, and Ms. Weatherford, to come up and present this morning.
Good morning. I'm Miss Megan. I would go by Miss Weatherford, but there is another Miss Weatherford that's been teaching for about 35 years, and that is not me. So my students call me Miss Megan to alleviate some confusion. So today I wanted to present about our Avid Career Day for 2025. It's our first one at the school. What makes it a little bit different is our vision. It's not to have outside companies and businesses and colleges come to campus. It was to have our high school students present to our elementary school students, because our CMHS has careers that they sorry, my words are failing me this morning, but they have careers that they prepare the students for. So our vision for CES's career fair was to have CMHS's current CTE students present a career to the 4th and 5th graders at the elementary school, in order to create excitement about attending CMHS, entering into a CTE program to pursue a career, and to encourage avid elective participation. So our 5 stations we had were Teacher Cadets, Health Academy, Agriculture, Digital Design and Media, and Avid Recruiting. So why we did it this way is so that CTE students could show their knowledge and pride about the careers that they're entering into. So that CES students could learn about possible career paths that our own high school can prepare them for. We thought that having CES students, having past CES students present to current CES students would promote longevity, because the students have been there and seen it before, so that later they could expand on it whenever they got in that position. CTE Week and Avid Recruitment Week are both promoted during this event for our high school, and so it benefits both schools in that way. And it also covers 4.2.4 of the Avid CCI of promoting colleges and careers at the elementary school level. So we promoted this career fair by creating a remind message that went home to 4th and 5th grade parents, just telling them, while we didn't expect them to come to the school, but their student would be going through this at the school. We also had this flyer that went home, and we also posted it around the 4th and 5th grade hallways so that they would be prepared for it. We also promoted it at our Scholastic Book Fair at the parent night. So we had this informational board put up. We also had flyers to hand out, and we were able to talk to the parents about what was going to be happening, along with our current Avid program at the school. So our first station was Digital Design and Media. And so the digital design and media students had a model of the things that they create in class, along with a flyer that they were able to show the kids. The agriculture had many stations. So one of the stations was the students worked with Legos as a metaphor for problem solving that farmers have to do every day on their farm. Students got to build pizzas from the ingredients that farmers produce. They were able to wrap the leg of an injured calf, so they had animals that they were able to look at. Seed planting. And for our Health Academy had a presentation on an informational poster board, and they had things that were used in the Health Academy room, along with a dummy, which was the highlight. So they had a medical dummy that they got to show some various things that they do in the Health Academy there on the dummy. The teacher cadets had a chain that the students were able to manipulate, and it was to show how teaching links the past, present, and future. And then we have a video of one of the chains that was done.
1, 2, 3, 8!
So the Abbott recruitment station showed the importance of the Abbott elective in the high school to help them pursue the college that they want to attend or the career that they want to attend. We did the chant as a signal to the rest of the group that it was time to switch. So once they did their chant, students got up and moved to the next station. This Abbott recruitment station was followed up with an application for the 5th graders to apply to be in the Abbott elective for the high school. And so we actually had 27 students apply, which was phenomenal compared to last year. Last year we didn't have enough applicants to have a class. So this year we have enough to have possibly 2 classes. So that was big. We also had a follow-up from the CMHS students. They did a feedback survey. And so 100% of those students that presented felt that it was well received by the elementary school students and that they enjoyed it. 90% said that the noise level could have been reduced. So they felt that the noise around the cafeteria was a problem. And 50% said that they would shorter their presentation so that it would be more interactive, not more interactive, but more, it would keep the kids' attention better. So with that follow-up, we are thinking of improvements for next year. And so we're thinking of a different venue. This year we did it in the cafeteria, and it didn't, it created a lot of noise, a lot of distraction, and the setup wasn't great. So we're gonna do a different venue. We're gonna increase the setup time for the middle high school students to come. They felt a little bit rushed. Like I said, they wanted to shorten their presentations along with increase the presentation interactiveness so that the elementary school students were more interactive with it. And then on our end, we would like to have a teacher and student feedback survey so that we can continue to improve on it and see how they felt about it. But that wraps it up. Do you guys have any questions?
Great.
Yeah, it
Sounds
sounds
awesome.
great. And
Absolutely.
those young kids, they'll listen to those high schoolers more than they will to an adult a lot of times.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah, so it was definitely a lot of good things that we felt like would come from having the high school do it.
Right. Sounds like a great
Right,
day.
and I added my email in case you guys had any feedback or information or tips or things that you think could help us improve on that, because we really want this to be something that we continue to do and improve on. So, Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Gore, come on down.
Good morning, board. How are y'all? Good. It's that time again. It's our quarterly report. I will give you a little bit more information this time than I have the previous 2 times. We have this, I shouldn't say we, I should say the state has been quite busy since my last report. We have had 7 state audits since right before Christmas break. So they start showing up about the week before Christmas break, and we are responsible for safety and security at the charter schools as well. So 11 total. Since right before Christmas break, we've had 7 total schools that have been audited during that time. So they've been busy, and that generally takes about 2 or 3 hours to audit one school. So they've been pretty busy visiting us lately. We have had 3 findings. I can't tell you the details of those findings, but I would like to explain a few things in those findings, some hypothetical situations that could be a finding. One of them being, it could be a clear documentation that we're required to put up on the wall at one of our facilities, and if, say this podium's the corner wall, if the paper is not on this side of the wall but on this side of the wall, it is considered a finding, even though it'd be about 2 feet around the corner. Another situation could be, it's not clearly stated in statute of what 60 days looks like. In some situations, 60 days would mean 60 school days. In other situations, it would be 60 calendar days. It all depends on the auditor and what, you see the predicament we're in here.
Yeah.
So there's not clear language in the statute on some things, but in my opinion, those things shouldn't be in question if they're not in clear. But so those are a couple of things that myself and administrators are dealing with. I do want to thank one person, if Mr. Stockman, if there's ever any kind of safety that involves a mechanical issue or anything like that, we normally put a work order in, I give him a phone call, and they are on top of it as soon as possible to get that remedied. So I do appreciate him supporting safety and security and always putting that first with us. But that's pretty much where we're at. I'm hoping the other 4 get hit before the school year's over. But we will continue to do audits district. They are unannounced, so they could circle back and hit a school that we've already hit. We're completely at the mercy of them when they show up. So that's kind of what's been going on since my last quarterly report with audits. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to say, I guess you know that the House bill that Representative Brad Yeager was sponsoring, I think it passed unanimously.
Yeah.
So that will allow you a little more flexibility.
Yeah, so to touch on that a little bit, that involves, there was some wording in there of involving the Guardian program with the Sheriff's Department, but also for a lot of those after-hour gates and door use and after hours and exemptions that we explained in the past. So that involves a lot of that. So we're thankful for that.
Yes.
So. Any more questions? Anybody got anything? Everybody good?
Can't answer nothing.
I mean, I do my best to be in gray area over it. So, but if you have no questions, thank y'all so much. And I'll see you one more time this year for sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
No, you got to stay. Don't y'all have a school to run?
Yes.
Why don't you do it?
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm gonna take my time and call this much disturbances.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Mr. Stockman? Mrs. Slade? Just Mr. Stockman at this moment.
First of all, I'd like to return the favor to Mr. Gore. He's always helpful to the maintenance department too. I appreciate it. I come before you this morning to request the following maintenance positions in the maintenance department be classified by the board as critical positions. And I ask this due to the nature of the job descriptions and the training and experience needed to fill them with qualified applicants. These 3 positions are electrician, plumber, and HVAC tech. And we don't have currently vacancies in all of these positions, but history has showed us that every time we do, we struggle to get qualified applicants. I mean, just struggle very hard, and we end up sometimes leaving the position open for a long time. Luckily, we have found qualified applicants, but we struggle through that interim. And I think by designating this as critical positions, according to board policy, I think you'll have an attachment from Mrs. Lake.
It's
That
a union policy, it's a policy with our contract.
it's under the part of our agreement with the union, and that if you classify these positions as critical need or critical positions, then we can offer them one-to-one on years of experience. Currently, that's a big hurdle for us because we end up getting somebody applies, and first thing they're gonna ask is, where would I fall on the pay scale? You got somebody that's got 20 years of experience in, say, the HVAC trade, electrical trade, out doing whatever, running jobs. And we tell them, well, we'll give you 10 years, and that's the end of the conversation. You know, you're not gonna get anybody interested when they don't get credit for their work experience. And I think it puts us behind the 8 ball. And these jobs, you know, we want to attract qualified people with skills we need, then we need to have, in my opinion, able to offer them one-to-one on their experience, and which will, I think, help us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what we're asking for.
Right. Gotta be competitive. I mean, gotta be competitive to get qualified people. I mean, these schools, I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
there's lots of maintenance to
And we're
keep.
still not gonna be at the same pay
Right.
grade as they can make
Probably
outside the
private.
world. That's just not a reality. Some of the other companies, big companies now offer same benefits we do. But we got people that want to work in the system, live in the county,
Yeah.
and would love to come work for Levy County, but the, you know, financial
Right.
isn't there. So
They're gonna be able to compete 100%, but this will make it more attractive
yeah,
for sure.
it just doesn't turn them off automatically when you say we can't count your experience. You know?
That's right.
So,
I think this is greatly needed, and I like seeing it here, and then it's going to become part of our policy. But I just have one question about the policy itself. So they say they have experience. How are they documenting that? You know, somebody comes to you and says, I've been in business, I had my own business for 20 years or whatever, or is there a certain?
Part of the policy is we have to contact their previous employers. We also have to they have to submit to finance.
No, there's a form that's completed through personnel, and Ms. Mandy Smith handles all certifications and all employment histories. It is the same certification form that a teacher would get.
Okay,
And if it's self-employed, they will have to submit
show their
documents,
business
tax
documents,
records,
yeah.
such as that.
That's
It's
great.
not just saying, we got it.
Right.
So, any other questions?
Any other questions? Now, will this just affect new hires, or are we gonna look at our current
It's
students?
just affecting new hires, as I understand, because, you know, we gotta start somewhere.
Absolutely.
Sure, I understand it may not be great for everybody, but we're trying to move forward.
I wouldn't mind seeing us do it with our current people. That's just my
Yeah.
opinion.
At least, yeah, they can
It's
show,
just opening up.
And I don't know if we can do that.
No, that's handled through compensation negotiations with the union, and they get steps. That's how we handle that.
Okay.
Okay,
And
okay,
then, and we increase the base.
okay. All right. All right, we'll entertain a motion.
so
So
moved.
moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions?
Not questions, but I wish we could add, and we've said this, you know, we say this through the years, not every kid is college bound, and if we could somehow implement these trades into our school, you know, which we're doing a good job of that right now with everything that we're offering, but I wish we could do a plumber, HVAC, electrician, those are good trades for.
Tanya's working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. I mean, we all do. I think it's just the financial constraints that we face.
All right, so we have a motion and a second, and all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Stockton.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Brady.
Thank you.
Mrs. Lake.
Good morning.
Morning.
So we'll start quickly with the results of our financial audit for last school year. This one is pretty quick, so the summary page tells you that no deficiencies over internal controls were identified. There were no material misstatements. Federal awards were in compliance. So I'm happy to report we had no financial audit findings this
We're
year.
happy too.
I owe that to my finance officer, Pam Whitney. She does all the financial reporting. And so we're heavily dependent on how, from the PO being put on, all the way to our reporting, they're all interconnected, and that's why finance sometimes has rules that people don't necessarily understand, but it all helps us tie up that financial reporting. And real quickly on that, we're the only entity that's required to have our financial reporting done from July 1, and it's due September 11th. Other municipalities, they get 6 months. We have from July 1 to September 11th. That's why we have to cut off POs in April. We have to start getting ready because it's literally like a horse race, and we are all at the gate. And the minute July 1 hits, the race is on. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't realize we were the only ones up against that steep deadline. All right. So next we'll talk about the third calculation. It was late this year. Usually the third calculation drops in January. The third calculation is based on what we call Survey 2. So there are 5 surveys throughout the year. So those are under the purview of MIS. Morgan handles those, and those are where we count the kids' heads. So Survey 2 would be the October count, and Survey 3 would be the February count. Survey 2 kicks off what we call the third calculation, mid-year. The calculation that I use to build the budget that will be coming before you pretty soon is based off of the legislative session and our forecasted FTE that we just submitted to the state, and that's called the second calculation. The fourth calculation is due soon. It's earlier this year because it's an odd year, and that is based off the October and February counts. And you kind of can get an idea of some of those surveys are estimates, and some of them are projections, and some of them are actual, and so we call it truing up. So that's what happens in the third calculation. We find out how good our FTE estimates, our forecast really was. So the next page, I'm breaking up the calculation that I do to look at the variance so I can do a budget amendment. And I'm going to piecemeal it and we'll just walk through it. This first chunk is simply looking at your base student allocation, your BSA. And you can see it's very misleading. So let's just walk through it. It's presented as having a growth. We're presented as having an unweighted increase of 19.06 and a weighted of 38.69. The weighted is arrived after the program code. So whatever the student's doing in our school, are they in first grade, are they in 12th grade, are they ESE, what are they? There's a weighted, are they in a CTE program? There's a weighting that's attached to that. And then when you calculate the small district factor, it looks like we've had a growth of $211,968. The additional weighted funding reduction is part of that 211. And we pull that out so that those particular programs that are funded with that additional weighting, you can see what's happening in those programs. The isolated school is funding attached solely to Cedar Key based on the 9 through 12 population. Cannot exceed 100 students or we would not be eligible for that funding. That funding has been in a continual decline because we do not have a lot of 9 through 12 students. And they seem to be reducing. The industry cert is the CTE program, and I think you would AP and dual enrollment are self-explanatory. So you can see that was a reduction of 163,757. So you'd have to add that to the 211. That's because it's embedded in that. That's a net. Again, keep in mind that if you were to pull this off the state of Florida's website, you would think we had a growth. So let's go to the next page. My page is there, so I'm going to have to see what that says. Okay, this is just what's left of the categoricals, what's remaining. 2 years ago, or maybe it was, yes, it started last year, they took categoricals and moved them into the base student allocation. Again, the state made it look as if we had a huge growth. We did not. They had just taken money from what we call under the line and put it above the line. So all the teacher TSIA money went from below the line to above the line. Well, those were funds already spent. They moved the reading allocation that governs our reading coaches. It was below the line, now it's above the line. That money was already spent. They did that with instructional material, so it's quite misleading if you were to just look at a calculation as posted on DOE without having your finance department discern it for you. So here's our categoricals. So after our categoricals and growth in those categoricals, you can see it looks like gross state and local FEFP dollars have grown by 317, almost 318,000. Go to the next. Now we're looking at the required local effort. This is what we get from local property taxes that we have to commit to the running of the school district in order for the state to make up that additional 35 million. So there's no change in your required local effort. There's no change in your local dollars throughout the year. That is set in your second calculation, so you never see local change, only state continues to change. There's a proration of 400 and almost a little over 424,000. Prorations come because by Florida statute, they build a budget. The budget is fixed. So and it's built on the forecasted FTE. So if school districts over or underestimate, and really it's not us, we're kind of bound, the state kind of tells us what to do. When it comes in, the thought is if they'll wash. Levy's over, Gilchrist is under, Alachua is over, Citrus is under, we're all gonna wash, right? Well, there's this thing called scholarships, and they don't have a firm grasp on what those scholarships are gonna be. So when there are more students in our system than the budget can support, the state comes and takes money back at a prorated rate based on our FTE from every school district in the state of Florida, so they can balance that budget. They don't go back into session and do a budget amendment. This is what happens. So every district was hit with a proration to help offset those scholarships. So you can see when that's all done, we were at 317, we thought growth. Now we're at 174, and I will remind you again, the FTE includes scholarships and the FTE includes charter schools. So the district itself is in decline, not in growth. And we'll get to that next. So here we're going to look at the Family Empowerment Scholarship. You don't want a negative number. The negative number simply means the budget that we started with or the estimated scholarships the state told us to use as a placeholder increased by almost 641,000, and that's on top of the proration. So when you come down, we're now at a decline of $451,000. Again, that's including scholarships too. I'm sorry, that's removing the scholarships. So that's a loss to the district. So you can see there the class size reduction, simply a state categorical, had a minor reduction. So now we're at a reduction of 454,000 almost. And if you go to the very bottom, you'll see that that 454 is a loss to the district because that's after that change in the FTE change in scholarships. So what they did is keep us at the same funds per unweighted FTE, and I think that's how they arrived at some of those different educational enrichment numbers to keep us at a loss of just 454,000. So that's a budget amendment that I have to do, and I have to go in and I have to reduce the revenue for the year and offset some expenditures to encompass that loss. Now again, this is like the third survey 2. Survey 3 is coming, and we can expect more loss there, and that will show up next year. All right, the next one.
Oh my goodness.
So how that impacts us is in our fund balance. Currently, the board approves compensation packages based on more than just the growth in our budget. If there is any, they also allow us to use, to a certain extent, fund balance. So you can see this year through the loss of revenue and in the compensation package that was approved by the board, it's a little over $2 million, you can see we're showing, anticipating a decline in that financial condition ratio from 18.4 to 14.4. And there's still a lot going on within our budget. That is an estimate. All right, so let's look at the students. So again, you see that we had a growth of 19.06 in FTE. So I want to show you that that wasn't ours. The FES grew by 69, charter 13.3, and when I say grow, this was against the forecast that Morgan and I would have presented and adopted last January or February. The district really has a loss of 63.29 in FTE. Right, we'll go to the next one. So let's look at enrollment, because we all know enrollment and FTE aren't quite the same. They're pretty close, but they're not quite the same. So this is taking a snapshot in time, and this is showing you what Survey 3, what we can anticipate with Survey 3. It's showing the change between the enrollment as of date certain of October and as of date certain in February. And the peach color orange line, you can see the changes at Bronson High School. You can see it resulted in another loss of 42 and a homeschool increase of 48. Real quick, so you can get an idea of what we're up against with the scholarships. You can see in 2020, this is just showing you the total dollars lost to scholarships. The 2004 would just be McKay, somewhere around, well, 2020 is when FES started, and then right after that is when they rolled in Gardner and another scholarship into total scholarships. So now it's just one FES that encompasses everything, but look at that 2025 line. So we'll go next. So just to give you an idea of growth, I've been here since 2017, so it seems to me there's a little bit of a pattern. When the scholarships started to flatline, to decline, the state came up with new programs to encourage growth in scholarships. And so if you were to see each dip, you would know, or each increase, you would know that there was some kind of change in those scholarships. They either broadened them, FES broadened them and allowed people that were never in our, kids that were never in our school district to enter. So we've never even seen them. FES allowed those who did not have unique abilities or ESE students with IEPs. McKay only allowed that. So you can just see, and then they had caps to cap how many students could enter into the scholarships, and that's continued to increase. So again, this is just another way to look at the loss in funding to FES in particular, and you can see the red line shows the percent variance from the prior year, so there's a growth of 72% in scholarship funding from this year, and between this year and last year. And the blue line is simply the dollar amount that never enters our district for those students that get scholarships. And scholarships is open to those that are in homeschool as well. And that was all the good news I had.
Great.
Man, that's good news.
So, does anybody have any questions? There's a lot, pretty fast, but.
At least they released the third calculation.
They did. They released that late. They were trying to figure out how to handle scholarships because I think it took everybody by surprise. I heard a rumor there were some districts in the state that actually were going to owe back money. They were in negative, and that's never been the desire of the state to take us negative. But the proration in and of itself means that we are serving students with less than what we had at the start of the year. So we just have to account for that, reduce those revenues, and try to figure out how to offset that in expenditures to hopefully not erode the fund balance. The fund balance is vital in so many different ways. We've had heavy insurance claims this year. That's where we have to take money, sometimes to do permanent transfers to insurance to cover those insurance claims. There's hurricanes. We have to front all the front money for the hurricanes. We front all of the money for our federal programs. We are not revenue positive until we start getting local dollars, so usually we are using that fund balance to support operations all the way up until December or January.
So you claim medical claims,
Hmm?
medical insurance claims?
Medical claims can have an impact on your general
Yeah.
fund because we have to do permanent transfers to make sure that insurance fund balance is at, I think, 2.5, an average of 2.5 months of claims. So when they skyrocket like they did this year, the 2.5 is going to go up. You can, we would work through with the union through negotiations if we were going to increase the employee side, but it's not always enough. And so you still have to give money from the general fund sometimes to prop up that fund balance.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mrs. Levy.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we welcome any public comments. Does anyone have anything they'd like to address with the board? All right, we'll move on to the approval of our minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read over? I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll now move to our consent agenda. We'll start with Mrs. Campbell. Mrs. Campbell, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Mrs. Baxter?
All my questions were answered. Thank you.
Mr. Whitehurst?
I'm good.
Mrs. Clemenza?
All my questions are answered.
All mine too. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no further questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We'll now move to our finance agenda. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the finance agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Now move over to our superintendent's comments and recommendations. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Wayne, may I mention the bus, or would you like to do that?
No,
I'm sure you all noticed that there is an activity bus that's parked out here, and that is what you all approved. So you're welcome after the meeting to go out and take a peek inside the activity bus. And I know Mr. Wayne is on top of, and Miss Tanya is on top of those who will be driving it, will get a little extra training and so forth before they hit the road with our students. So that's being done. Also, I received an email early this morning from NEFAC, Dr. Winnick, and if you haven't heard yet, the Rural Renaissance Bill that's going strong up there, it has passed in the House Committee yesterday. And if you wanted to do a little bit of research, you'd be looking for House Bill 1427, and the companion to that is Senate Bill 110. So you can do, very excited about that. And they are looking, at the last NEFAC meeting, they're looking for some superintendents to sit on a committee. These monies will come directly to the consortiums, okay, in the state, and then the consortiums will then determine what the districts get, but the districts will then be able to distribute those funds. So the committee that they asked a couple superintendents, I volunteered to sit on that committee. And what that will do is, and please, you're welcome to give ideas to me that I can bring to them. We're trying to find ideas when I'm going to talk like we're getting money, when we get these funds, to show them in the following years so that they're reoccurring funds, that we are held accountable, what we did with those funds. They want to see student achievement. They want to see programs that we give to our students that are going to improve from pre-K all the way up. So that's what they were going to want to see, and that's what the committee will help determine. Hey, let's make sure we do this so that there's accountability as to good use of the
Right, make
funds.
sure investment, wise investment.
ROI. Absolutely. So that's exciting, and thank you for going to the fair and representing us. I know you had a long day. Appreciate that.
Did that.
Miss Linda and Miss Lisa and myself, we kind of conquered Tallahassee again. They had a lot going on. They went through some more new school board training, and I know they had very long days, but we were able to see Representative Johnson. We just kind of walked up there, and he took us in his office, and we sat down and had a great meeting with him. We were able to see Senator McCain quickly at a reception, and without even offering any mention to Senator McLean about the appropriations bill, he brought it up. And he said, we have our eye on it, which I thought was great news for him to mention it. And Mr. McClellan and I were able to attend the Chiefland Prom Promise. So the new assistant principal there, Mrs. Berry, she, with a little help from the other admin, she put together a prom promise in, I don't know, maybe a week's time, I think. And some of the SROs were out there in the field with goggles that you could put on that would actually simulate drunk driving. And the kids had to take the golf cart, and cones were set up, and go and see what it would feel like. And they were having a good time. They did different sessions. So some were in the media center. They broke them into small groups, and they just rotated juniors and seniors. And it was really quite interesting. Although I didn't get to drive the golf cart next year. I don't know, Mr. McClellan, did you drive the golf cart with the Dodgers on? And I was fortunate enough to attend 2 of the proms so far, so Williston Middle High in Gainesville, and then Chiefland Middle High, and the kids were beautiful. I mean, and admin dresses up really nice too. But they all had a wonderful time, and there's 2 more proms to go, and hopefully I'll be able to peek in on those. You're more than welcome to the prom. And that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now move to our board comments. Mrs. Campbell?
Well, I did enjoy Tallahassee very much, learned a lot. The Florida School Board training was excellent and whipping us into shape. So we're going to be ready to serve well, don't you think, Lisa?
Yes.
And also NEFAC, what they had going on, we got to attend the superintendent's breakfast and met with some people that I'd worked with years ago as a teacher at NEFAC, and that was very enlightening, and see what's going on and the hopes that we have. And then the bills that, the safety bill and the rural renaissance bill, it was interesting to see our legislators' reaction to our questions and our requests, and so I came away feeling, I committed one sin while I was there, though. I did get on an elevator, which I did not know was reserved only for senators and representatives, and I got scolded big time. Yeah, they were right behind me. But you were saying,
Actually, I
oh, no, let them
you
see
on.
my name tag. I said, well, they already saw mine. It's Levy County. But anyway, but I was encouraged to see that there were, in discussion and seeing, how they operate up there. There are some really good people with good hearts and who have a stake in education. They either have some kind of background, a family member that was a superintendent, or their wife was a teacher, some connection, and that made me feel better. Made me feel better that there were people up there who were making decisions with a frame of reference. And of course, there were still those that I looked at and said, but in general, it was really a great experience, and I was proud to represent Levy County there. At Cedar Key, our prom's coming up, and We had a fundraiser, DECA held a cornhole event and a barbecue to raise money for them to go to their national conference, and also for a scholarship for a parent who has passed away. And I thank you for representing us at FFA sale, and I was happy that Cedar Keys goat was purchased by the school board. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Baxter?
Well, I too enjoyed Tallahassee. Both times I've left there, and I feel like my head is just so full of information. I was so impressed with Senator Albritton, who's president of the Senate, with his Rural Renaissance bill, but he came and spoke to a group of educators in a room 1/4 the size of this, with about 20 people in there. And he started out his speech with a Bible verse. And, you know, he is so well respected and so well liked by his peers in Tallahassee. But this Rural Renaissance bill is going to affect us greatly. And I'm so glad you're sitting on that committee. It was nice to see Senator McClain and Representative Johnson as well. So it was a great trip. Thank you, Cameron, for going to the fair. I was thinking about you sitting up there while you were sitting in class. Also, Tammy kind of already told you what was going on at Chiefland Middle High School. That prom promise was apparently, I didn't know about it until after it was over, but it sounds like it was a great event. And of course, Chiefland Elementary just shared with you what's been going on at their school with the AVID Career Day. So that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Whitehurst?
I don't have a whole lot. Like I said, Wilson had the prom, went off without a hitch. And like I said, Schwaner Fair last week. Certainly, I appreciate the school board, us allowing the, some days off of school, having 3 kids in the Levy County school system. It's enough trying to do fair projects and everything without having to worry about missing school and getting behind on academics. And so I appreciate the school board us voting on calendars that allow that. So like I said, starting a new 9 weeks last week, and it's Williston baseball, softball, all in the works. But that's about all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Clemency?
Yeah, it's a busy time of year. I was a stalker prom night. Chiefland and Williston, like you said, they had the same night as proms on the same night. So I sat on the corner after we took pictures and looked with my binoculars at all the kids. But I love the idea of the prom promise. That's a great idea. And I was around a lot of teenage boys this weekend and hearing them talk about the coaches that all reached out to say, if you guys need a ride tonight, it's just, that was special. But I love the idea of the prom promise. Thank you for Swanee River Fair. I know, knowing you enjoyed every second of it, though, being in the mix. What else do I have?
Who's getting it?
We was over there. We were there, weren't we?
Yeah,
Deb?
right.
We were there.
We were representing.
Thank you, Mr. Devon, too. We need you out.
In Devon, yes. I think 21 days until testing starts. So we're in the thick of that also, so just busy all around the district. And Thursday night is Literacy Night in Yankeetown, and there's a program out of UF called the World Reading Initiative, and they're going to provide food and get a lot of kids signed up on reading programs and prizes, and I'm just very appreciative they're coming to Yankeetown. It's an exciting night, so everyone's welcome if you guys want to come. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Mine will be brief. I'll make a deal with y'all. I'll gladly go to the fair if y'all handle the Tallahassee.
You know what? That's a deal.
That is a deal.
I'll learn
That is a
everybody
deal.
well, and
You're doing good things down there?
I'll hang out with my pigs and hang out with your pigs.
Oh, but we do have a story to tell you,
Oh, okay.
which we will do later.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
About
somebody was
who
telling
was
stories
your
on this.
senior sponsor when you went on
Ah!
a cruise.
And I had a good time.
Yes, we heard about
That's
it.
what we
I
understand.
ain't gonna lie. I still have a good time. We'll talk about that later. That's why I should stay at the Swanee River Fair.
That's right.
Okay. That was a great experience. Thank y'all for entrusting me and Mr. Whitehurst with that. I tried not to pressure him too much because Mr. Whitehurst has kids in it, and I'm done. But now I will tell you a great tragedy Many of you don't know about the tragedy that struck the Swanee River Fair.
No.
On sale day, at the end of the sale, this one young lady, she came up to me and she goes, I really need some help with my goat, Mr. Asbell. I was like, okay, we'll hook you up, da, 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 da. And then her mama came up and said, Cameron, I really appreciate that. You don't know how much this means to me. I was like, well, I thought, no problem, no problem. Then the tragedy struck. She says, you know, I remember being a senior over here and you bidding on my animal then. And she'd been out of school 25 years. So, tragedy struck right there. And the white hair is
Reality
not
struck.
just for looks. It is what it is. And I was like, dang, it's been that long. But, yes, give me the fair over Tallahassee. I'll deal with those animals. I got you back as long as I'm here. We can strike that deal right now. Kind of on that same, Ms. Taylor, I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think about this bill that's coming down about with CAPE funding and changing those technical courses and how the credits and all that? What do you think of that?
The emoji I used in communicating with Ms. Boyle is the one that is the green face. Definitely incredibly concerned about it. I feel like it doesn't make any sense, especially when they're offering 0.3 funding for program completion. It feels like we're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
So
It is.
I know that our industry partners, our industry certification agencies, and like Florida FFA, RCTSOs, FBLA are all at the table having the conversations about it. So at this point, I'm just incredibly nervous and trying to come up with a proactive approach should this pass.
Yeah, is there anything we can do?
Did you want to?
Do we need to?
Sure. I had asked Ms. Taylor that when she texted me, we were up in Tallahassee, so she put together basically some of the negative impact, a little one-pager. And Kim weighed in on it as well, and then when we sat down with Representative Johnson, it was, what, less than 24 hours since all this unfolded, and we mentioned it to him. It appears that he's on one of the committees that this might go before. And I emailed him what you had written down, and Ms. Kim as well, and he emailed me back that night when I actually got back from Tallahassee, and said that he is beginning to research and go to the table and talk. So fortunately, we are lucky they didn't put him on any ag committees that he's, so
Where his
versed in.
background
His
is.
background. They actually wound up putting him on this workforce committee.
And he
I think that's where it's
appreciated.
gonna go.
I did want to say, though, if you get a chance, read that bill in its entirety. It is not limited to CTE. It has huge impacts for Morgan, huge. Changing the survey windows, the annual FTE audits. It is going to impact these small districts beyond just CTE. So even if you just read what's underlined.
Right. Just on the surface, I was like, why are y'all talking out both sides of your mouth like Tallahassee's been known to do? 1 minute it's, hey, vocational, and then next it's, vocational. And that's why I should stay at the fair. And I know this about me. I can't go up there and play that game because I have no problem looking at you going, hey, quit peeing on my leg and telling me it's raining. Okay? So y'all keep doing that.
Well,
I'll
we
stay
tried
down
to
here.
say that in other words.
Yeah. And see, I don't have that in me to not say it that way. So I was troubled by it. And yes, I believe it reaches much further than that. And it,
Yeah.
I think we need to realize, and you can look at the numbers, we can look at all this stuff. We're in a battle. We're in a real battle. And for a thing that we love.
Well, I just want to say, when Ms. Boyle mentioned to him that you had a one-pager, that he was all about that. He appreciated that. They have so much to read, and that was very helpful, I think.
I'm happy to create 17 of them.
Yes.
We can all send individual emails.
Yeah, we can send them.
And
No
from
problem.
Board members, and, just hit them up.
Further than that, we got prom coming in Bronson. It's exciting times. I'm also fascinated, kind of like Mr. Whitehurst said. It seems like just the other day the school year started.
I know.
And then somebody the other day said, we graduate. And I'm like, whoa. So it moves fast.
Yes.
But everybody's doing a great job, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you for going to Tallahassee again. And Nothing else. Meeting adjourned. Good signing.